Welcome back to Canonymous. Today I want to take a look at Pierre Poilievre's exclusive interview where he tackles some of our biggest questions and we'll break them down. Some of these answers and questions I'm sure you've already heard, but he does go into them with more detail, and this is the kind of stuff that we're going to expect from him as we get close to the federal leaders debate, which with all that's been still happening on this year and last, and the years before technically, it's going to be a spicy debate. But for now, the video that we have today is coming from Red FM Canada.
When you say X the tax, how would this program will work if you X the tax? Some people are concerned that where the revenue is going to come.
So right now, government is bloated, spending way too much money to achieve way too little. Effectively, they've grown the bureaucracy by 50%. They've doubled the number of dollars spent on outside consultants to $21 billion. That means $1,400 in your family, Harjinder. Your family is spending $1,400 in federal taxes for outside consultants alone. I'm going to cut all that. I'm going to cut the waste. And we're going to put the savings into tax cuts and balanced budgets to bring home lower prices for Canadians.
And brilliant answer as always, of course. And I'll be honest, I don't understand when I hear liberals on Twitter, when they hear these kind of facts that Trudeau is spending money like the rich kid that he is and not really worried about where it's coming from, and they still want to vote for him. But anyways, Harjinder does bring up a good point about where are you going to get the money when you start cutting, because we all want cuts. Ultimately, even the liberals who may not admit it, liberal supporters who may not admit it, don't want to have to pay more taxes if they don't have to. So they may complain about it to our faces, but their wallets are going to be smiling, and they're going to be smiling on the inside too. But ultimately, we do need to move forward as a society. If I remember correctly, it's something like America is like 2 times, maybe more than that, more efficient per person than Canada is, or Canadians are rather. We need to bring those numbers up. Canada needs to be producing more. And I don't think constantly outsourcing these skills rather than trying to grow our in-house talent is a good idea. Now, most likely the consultants that Trudeau's government is talking to, they're probably talking to people who are in Canada, who have businesses in Canada, but I'm not really talking about the consultants. I'm sort of talking about capitalism that needs like a little bit of a leash on it. Love capitalism, but it's not perfect. And when jobs start going elsewhere for cheaper labor, and that also hurts our economy as well. It's great that we get the stuff cheaper, but we also lose potential productivity from our people at the same time. And it's sort of kind of shooting yourself in the foot. I don't think I addressed the answer or the question in my rambling there, but regardless, what I said I think still stands as something that Pierre's going to have to consider anyways.
We're noticing that your party and yourself are going up in the polls. In the event you become the next Prime Minister of Canada, what's in there for the people of British Columbia?
Well, like I said, I think the choice for them is, do you want a costly coalition of the NDP and Trudeau who tax your food, take your money, punish your work, double your housing costs, and unleash crime and chaos in your community, or common sense conservatives who axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime? And I think that the polls reflect that people want the common sense conservatives.
We all know Vancouver's turning into a hellhole. Now, I don't live there, but I have friends that live there, and they're worried it's turning into a hellhole.
I'll give you another specific example. Tim Singh Appalji, my deputy leader, has introduced a bill to crack down on extortion, to jail the extortionists who've been terrorizing Surrey, Calgary, Edmonton, Brampton, and other communities. And we're also bringing in tougher laws to crack down on car theft. These are what people in British Columbia are concerned about.
I mean, this is a big BC problem, but I would say most of the major cities are still going to go through these same problems. Crime issues, drug issues, unaffordability issues. I understand Harjinder lives in BC. I don't know this, but I'm assuming because he asked the question very specifically toward BC. But like Pierre said, there is a violence in the major brown communities around Canada. There seems to be some sort of extortion or violence or anything in between happening, and on an increasing rate right now. And I know some of you are going to be like, well, they need to just kick these guys out. They shouldn't be here in the first place, blah, 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 blah. That's not useful or even necessary. You know, a lot of the people do just want to live normal, peaceful lives. That's most people, I'd say. A lot of people are good, more good than they are bad. But bad people's terror stretches way further.
In spite of our domestic issues,
Yes.
present government is giving away billions of dollars to the other countries like Ukraine and other. It's a very painful process for a lot of people while we are suffering and the money is given out. How would you stop this squandering? Is there any kind of agreement that you have to be bound by, or you can stop it?
So, look, on Ukraine, I think Ukraine needs to win, because the Russians will just invade yet another country if they are able to topple Ukraine.
If anybody's new to hearing this, you need to know that Pierre Poilievre is not opposed to helping Ukraine fight. It's actually one of my biggest annoyances with him is the fact that he does not want to stop this. He wants to keep prolonging this battle, or at the least is willing to prolong this battle. Maybe he's right. And maybe Russia would try to take more countries if it took Ukraine. But truly, I don't think so. We can take a look at this map here. It's a little outdated. It doesn't include Sweden, which recently became a member of NATO. But Russia's pretty much surrounded once it steps past Ukraine. So if you think he's just going to start taking more land, then it's automatic World War III. The problem I don't like is that we're effectively starting World War III, and it isn't for a NATO country. And though still Russia's fault for invading a sovereign nation in the first place, NATO can't sit there and say, well, this isn't our fault, and try and play, I guess, the hero. You know, I'm just not convinced yet that this war is really worth it. I don't know what there is to gain yet.
Russia's paying for the war by selling its gas into Europe. We have 1,300 trillion cubic feet of natural gas. We have cold weather and clean hydro to liquefy it cheaper and cleaner than anywhere else on Earth. We have shorter shipping distances than the Americans to Europe. Let's sell our gas to the Europeans to break European dependence on Putin and turn dollars for dictators into paychecks for our people.
Trudeau himself was given a prime opportunity to execute on this idea and even claim himself as the hero behind the idea, as it didn't come from him but to him. So instead, he decided to say no when Germany came to him and asked him for help. With nowhere else to turn, Germany turned to Qatar. Now, I'm sure you've heard about this already. If you haven't, Qatar and Germany have a 15-year deal now, and Canada gets to see none of that revenue, even though we were approached for it. And the same thing happened with Japan as well. Now, all that being said, Trudeau's reasoning wasn't because of environmental issues. It was actually a cost factor. Trudeau said it would cost too much to build in the time that they needed and could come off as completely unprofitable in the long run. Pierre still wants to go ahead with this, and having a continuation of the Ukraine-Russia war would work in his favor and maybe give him enough time to build the infrastructure capable of traveling the natural liquid gas, and also give him a long-term customer or customers with other European countries. If what Trudeau said is true, there's still a massive cost factor that we're going to have to take a look into, and Pierre's going to have to contend with and convince us, the people, that ultimately it's worth it.
The billions of dollars are being spent. Can you make a commitment today that you will stop this until we, the people of Canada, are able to fulfill our basic needs? Then money will be given to other countries.
I will be cutting back overall on foreign aid. I've been very clear on that.
That's a straightforward political answer, one that I think he pretty much has to give anyway. He can't just say, no, I'm not going to give any money toward any foreign aid ever again, or ever until Canadians are rich as hell. But that being said, Canadian people, please be very aware that whether it is Trudeau or Poilievre, as long as the Ukraine-Russia war continues, Canada will be paying for it in some way or another. Okay, I'm going to cut it there. Let me know what you guys think of this video down below. Like and subscribe while you're at it, and come back for more.